C.H.U.D. Yeah, C.H.U.D. Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers. This is a movie from 1984. Underground monsters live in the sewers of New York City, and they come up and they attack people and eat people, and cool, I could get behind that. But for whatever reason, I never actually watched it. I guess I always kind of assumed it was like just a floppy rubber monster movie that kind of sucked. But you know what? I watched it today, and it doesn't suck. It was worth watching, and it was interesting. This movie is right up my alley. Or right up my sewer.
Oh, that's nasty.
At the very beginning of the movie, you see there's a lady walking her dog down this surprisingly deserted, dirty-ass New York street. We see a manhole cover open, and like this C.H.U.D claw comes out and grabs her leg, pulls her in there, and her little dog too. And then we get 20 minutes of character exploration from a whole bunch of actors. There are so many characters in this movie, and there's a lot of really good actors in this movie too. The first one we're introduced to being like John Hurd. You'll probably recognize this guy as like the dad from Home Alone, or the guy with the bar stool in Sharknado. Anyway, I've seen this guy in lots of stuff. John Hurd. Not to be confused with John Hurt, the guy that the thing came out of his chest in Alien. Anyway, he's like a photographer. He lives with his model girlfriend. We get a whole bunch of character exploration from those two. I want to say they're pretty good actors, so it was interesting. I was getting into the story. It was tough at first to understand how they were connected to this underground, cannibalistic, underground humanoid, C.H.U.Ds. You know what it means. So we were introduced to them. Then we're introduced to like the police captain, Captain Bosch, played by Christopher Curry, Johnny Rico's dad in Starship Troopers. He wants to get to the bottom of this mystery and find out what's going on. That was his wife at the very beginning that got pulled into the manhole cover by the C.H.U.D. He goes to see Daniel Stern, who plays AJ, the Reverend. He's like this hippie guy that runs a soup kitchen in this just horrible neighborhood, and he feeds all the homeless people and stuff, and he says, a lot of my regulars are just not showing up anymore. I think you should take a look down in the sewers because something is making them disappear. Oh, and Daniel Stern, actually, I gotta say, before I go any further, is the bright spot in this movie. I'm not the biggest fan of Daniel Stern, but I really liked him in this movie. He plays like a kind of a dirty hippie, really, or at least he's dirty for most of the movie. I mean, he wears this like gray wife beater kind of tank top. It's just constantly covered in like greasy, gross stains, and his hair's all crazy. And AJ, he's the Reverend AJ. He's a character portrayed very well, and probably the most interesting character in this entire movie. There are so many characters in this movie. I would say maybe a little bit excessive. The acting in this movie is top notch, which was something I really wasn't expecting at all. And the storyline, it's pretty slow burn, pretty slow paced. And I guess I was kind of expecting that, being a movie from like 1984. They just made movies differently back then. But I was engaged, and I found this movie actually very interesting. It was much different than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I saw those trailers, and they're talking about C.H.U.Ds. They're talking about the cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. And you see all these scenes of them like bursting out of the sewers, and one of them busts through a wall. And they're just like these weird rubbery monster looking guys with glowing eyes and sharp teeth and sharp claws and stuff. And I thought the movie was going to be a whole bunch of that. And I thought it was going to be really stupid and like not taking itself too seriously. But no, this movie takes itself dead serious. And I think that's the strength of the movie. One thing I didn't like about it was there wasn't enough C.H.U.Ds in a movie called C.H.U.D. But in a way, maybe that works to the movie's advantage as well, because they don't look that good. outfits that these guys wear and their big glowing eyes and their stupid looking claws and rubbery looking monsters. Like, okay, they don't look that good, but apparently it was very rushed. Special effects were very rushed in this movie, so I can look the other way. Plus, it was 1984, man. And I think they wisely cut down the amount of C.H.U.D time in this movie because maybe they only had so many like C.H.U.D masks and suits and whatever, and they didn't have the budget or the time to actually put more of them on screen. Like, I had assumed there's going to be like an army of these guys, but the most you ever see on screen at one time is like 4 or 5 of them. The C.H.U.Ds in shadow. You see more of the after effects of them attacking, or just like a brief clip of them like grabbing somebody and killing them, until the end of the movie where John Hurd's girlfriend is locked in her apartment and the C.H.U.Ds come and attack, and a cool decapitation scene where the guy's neck like extends like super long, and then she cuts off his head with like this decorative sword that she has conveniently on the wall. That was one of the few like cheesy moments in there, but I still think it worked, and I still think it was like worth all this build up for a bunch of rubber monsters. And in retrospect, I'm glad they didn't show too much of the C.H.U.Ds. Okay, so it's a movie that has strong actors, good characterization, but it's supposed to be a horror movie, and it's supposed to shock you and scare you, and there's a few like jump scares and a few shocks, but I gotta say I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't bored watching this movie. I found it kind of rewarding, except at the very end when they don't really wrap up the whole C.H.U.D threat at the end, but they do take care of the evil like businessman, nuclear regulatory commission guy who's just trying to save his own ass and cover everything up, and because they've been dumping toxic waste under New York City, and all these C.H.U.Ds are getting infected and like eating people and killing them and whatever. But that guy gets his comeuppance in the end, and that's the climax of the movie. What about all them C.H.U.Ds? What's gonna happen to all them? Anyway, okay, well, the ending was a little bit abrupt, and it could have been a little bit longer. It could have been a little bit more C.H.U.D action in there. There's some really notable stuff in this movie too. You get to see John Hurd's girlfriend is taking a shower, and she's being stalked by C.H.U.Ds, but she doesn't know it. She's taking a shower, and it seems like the drain is getting clogged, so she gets like a coat hanger, and she's like trying to unclog the drain, and she does move a bunch of crap around, and then whoosh, she gets like the blood spray in her face and everything, and then they just cut away. And then the C.H.U.D bursting through the wall was pretty good. Her chopping off the C.H.U.D's head was pretty funny. Oh yeah, other actors too. I forgot to mention, there's a couple of cameos in here. Well, they're not meant to be cameos, they're just like up and coming actors who hadn't been established yet. You get Patricia Richardson from Home Improvement, Mom from Home Improvement. She's in here briefly, but I don't think she even has a single line, but you can see her in one of the scenes. It's like at a photo shoot near the very beginning. So whatever. Yeah, she's in there though. And I think the most notable one in here is John Goodman. And it's like he plays like a cop, like a beat cop or whatever. Him and his partner, can't remember his name, but he's the guy that played Eddie LeBeck, Carla's boyfriend in Cheers. Those two are like their partners, and they go into this diner, and it turns out that this diner gets attacked by C.H.U.Ds, and the C.H.U.Ds slaughter everybody in the diner. We don't actually get to see it, but we just see them pop up in the windows, and then we see like blood spray everywhere, and then like, oh my god, suddenly there's 7 million cops out there, and the secret's out. C.H.U.Ds are attacking. I think the cinematography and the setting and the sets and just the overall film look of the movie, I think it's pretty good here. It's very 80s, of course. This is 1984. And I think, the strong story or strong script serves it pretty well. The lack of C.H.U.Ds in there is a bit of a minus. The effects of the C.H.U.Ds themselves are not great, although there is some gore effects in there that are pretty good for 1984. But I don't know, I gotta say, I just watched this movie today and I kind of liked it. I thought it was pretty fun. I think overall I'd have to give C.H.U.D like a B minus. I mean, it had the potential to be a way better movie than this, but It is not a bad movie. I could see that if you're not into like older, slow burn kind of horror movies, like the type they actually made in the 80s, you probably wouldn't like this. If you don't like old, cheesy special effects, you wouldn't like this. If you don't like movies that explore the characters very much, then you're going to hate this, because there's a lot of talking and very few chuds in this movie called C.H.U.D. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess let's give C.H.U.D a B-, a respectable B-. So yeah, come on back next time here to Andy Boy Comics and Toys. I promise I won't be looking so much like a C.H.U.D. I'll try and clean myself up a little bit. And until such time, have a good one, everybody.